The governor of California is walking with a top cop of California and a mayor as well. They're walking with Tommy, and Tommy, the no-arm Chinese fella, is telling them what to do. And all of a sudden, a concerned citizen walks up and says, excuse me, what do you guys know about Milton, John Milton Brady, asking for 93 checks for over a decade and not getting one? And the top cop looks over at that phone with that camera in his shirt pocket. He doesn't know if it's on or not. He looks at that intersection camera and he doesn't know if that's the only one making the video of his. And he looks at that car camera there. He doesn't know if it's on or not. And of course the convenience store they're next to. And he says, I don't know. And Tommy says, you stupid son of a bitch, we'll alter the video. And he's not too sure of that anymore. Doesn't want to dig in any deeper with the devil's people are walking among us. Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, is in YouTube CEO Susan's office complaining up a storm. He says he's seen a lot of Osama videos posted to YouTube lately. You know, from the Hawaii days, dad and son along the beach there, Osama bin Laden and his son, the cowardly Hussein, placed in our White House right after we got attacked by a whole lot of cowardly Husseins. And Susan's explaining I block them as soon as I can find them, but I can't stop them from uploading. And just then a woman storms into the office. He says, I want to know where I can hire this guy as a supermodel. And she says, where'd you find that? And it's not on YouTube. And yes, the talent agent Gina says, oh, saw it at a college bar. They're handing them out to the shirtless handsome bald guy videos to upload to YouTube. Tommy has been called into Wu's office. Yes, the no-armed Chinese fella. And he's watching something on the big screen there, and Tommy says, what's that? And he says, it's the son of Culture Mary, me, Milton, from the 70s, or the 1970s. And yes, I've got that army fold-up shovel in hand, taking Dad to that spot in the back of the yard. It had recently rained, and it rains a lot in Louisiana. And I had found that you dig a little trench to this certain spot in the backyard, and the water would drain into it, you know, not out to the front there where the ditches are. And when we got there, you could barely hear the muffled screams of the damned, and all of a sudden this kind of a bit of steam came up, and Dad says, oh, looks like your water there got down to the damn souls in hell, son. Yeah, that night, Saturday night, Freeze Justice Saturday night, Dad would sharpen up those pitchforks and take me down there to, you know, where the pitiful human hell on earth was nothing compared to, you know, that stuff downstairs. George is talking to the men, and he says, I've seen this coming for a long time. Politicians, the feds, the generals, they don't want to clean up the Mormon cult of Utah. Stone Cold Milton's tell them all about them casing neighborhoods when the only ones home were the kids after school. When that money they're casing for, yes, the little old ladies as well, dries up, and that false prophet says that they're persecuting them. They need to go home to Brigham and Smith. It's going to be one big biohazard there. So I've designed a new after Kool-Aid kind of obstacle course. And yes, they go out there and there's the running through tires, there's the barbed wire, and then they got to put the dummies into the body bags, to prevent disease spreading across America. And yet, Wu had told Tommy to go out to the military base and find out what's going on, and of course, no arms. He particularly resembles a dummy. So yeah, Rhea's gonna have to go fetch him back from the military base. Al, the bartender, has a full house lately. He owns a bar near the airport, and he says, I've noticed you guys in here a lot. You look like pilots. I'm uploading this month, starting to. Who do you work for? And one says, oh, Susan Wojcicki, YouTube, with a Russian accent. He says that. She says, keep that jet warmed up in case that Senate subcommittee stuff starts. And the other one says, oh yeah, I'm with Randall Stevenson's AT&T. Michael Moore's another one, and Solari Enterprises has one in there. I'm Melton, and yes, there's a Chinese one, and none of those are going back to where they're from. They're all going to Saudi Arabia. So Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, is at an ugly as sin Mormon temple this Sunday. The devil expects them to spend 3 long hours worshiping him and his lies, and they're outside. And Jim J says, you see that cat over there, the biggest, fattest cat you've ever seen? That's one of the false Mormon prophets' patients. And Tommy says, he's a vet, that slug we push around on a gurney. And he says, no, well, he more or less retired about a half century ago as a heart doctor, but yes, someone he trained worked on that cat, and look, hits that remote, the cat drops down. And yes, later on Tommy will be getting that cat into his knapsack there, taking it home. He and Rhea's going to eat real good tonight. And yes, somewhere in Utah, one of the many Osama bin Laden gene pool members is doing his yoga, cleaning his rifle, watching YouTube, and he sees my video there, and he says, that son of a bitch, Nelson, he did work on me. Ralph and Toby are at a college party, and they've been having a little contest with each other. See how many of Melton's images. Oh, that's a non-93 check image. Here's a 93 check image. How many images they can get into the evening news, not doing their jobs, or the daily news, day shows even, morning shows. And it's a tie. They both got the same number. Lots of different networks and TV stations. Toby wins. He says, this guy here, you're about to see, he's showing the video of it. I pulled the shirt off him. I ironed the image onto his shirt, put the shirt back on, and he was cussing in Chinese. He stumbled out into the middle of that press conference, and yes, it's Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fellow, who, oh yeah, here's a nice image. Maybe with a 93 check image there. Try to call me, 424-229-4140, and yeah. Get America's Hijack Lifeline, your AT&T, your future AT&T livelihood on video. So Teresa has come out of the mosque. Teresa is a regional manager for Solari Enterprises, a very Muslim company. And she sees a man in a suit as she's about to get in her car, and she says, "I don't have to say anything to you. I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. Susan Wojcicki, Russian YouTube CEO, told me I don't have to." And he said, "It's me. It's Trump. Get in the limo. Your car has ears." Then they go to her place, sits down on the couch, and yes, Tommy crawls in through the doggy door. The no-armed Chinese fellow, he says, "Don't tell him anything, Susan." And Trump asks, "What do you know about Saudi Arabian royal family, ISIS, Taliban?" And before Susan can say anything, the closet door flies open, and this this Saudi Arabian guy starts running. He goes through the doggy door on the way out, and Trump gets on the horn and he says, "We got a bed seat running. Catch him." And got diplomatic immunity, makes sure he doesn't take any of our kids with him. A cop has walked up to Solari Enterprises Furball. And he says, "Yeah, we all know about you in bed with the Muslims. Connections to ISIS, Taliban, whatever, in the Mideast, Saudis, of course. We don't like you bitch-slapping California's cops and harassing a Christian in a wheelchair. In America, you're compromising our security." So he tries to call me. You know, it's always where my fun fiction ends. With the Solari Enterprises Furball and all other Solari Enterprises, and they ask him, "Why have you been harassing a priest in a wheelchair for 2 years and 3 months? Why is your hatred so much?" The Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, had that incident with the wood chipper, left him with no arms. He's running late for his AA meeting at the bar, and when yes, Amputees Anonymous, when he finally gets there, Juanita's in the middle of her story. Juanita's missing both arms too. Yes, she went into the hospital for an augmentation kind of thing, and she always tells all the girls, when you're going in, take a magic marker and write, "Don't take these off," the arms or legs, "make these bigger." And Tommy notices this new one at the AA meeting, and he starts up a conversation. And he says, "So what are you missing?" And he's wearing a big hat, the new guy, and he doesn't respond. And finally, Tommy kind of just, bumps the hat, says, "Hey, fella, what's your problem?" And yeah, someone put a dummy there with no head, just a hat. They thought it'd be a good joke, and it scared Tommy. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella, manager of the Streets of the Unseen business. He's also a Mormon cult member. And his Mormon cult brothers, Jim J and Charlie M, have stopped by to pick him up, and they tell him, "We're not going out to case neighborhoods this day." They case those neighborhoods when the only ones home are the kids after school. They tell him, "We're picking up the false Mormon prophet. He's thinking of moving headquarters out here to Los Angeles." And yeah, he's a heart doctor, but he's half as old as his brother of faith. He's in a bed, and they're pushing him around, showing him the place, and someone says, That poor little old lady, her kids are across the country, and yes, she's recently widowed, and that's when Jim J lets go of that gurney, and it goes flying down that hill. Yeah, Tommy tried to catch it, but he's not yet a small, not very big. He's got his teeth kind of clamped on, and that false prophet is right down into that ocean.